We're going to call the meeting to order. So I want to thank you all for coming out to the September meeting of City Island Rising, which is a new community-based nonprofit group which we've started here on City Island. As you can see from the agenda, we have a lot going on. There are things that we have that aren't even on here yet. But before we begin, I just wanted to do a brief moment of silence. Tomorrow, September 11th, and we did lose over 3,000 people, New Yorkers, 18 years ago. So let's just take a moment of silence here. Okay, thank you all very much. And I know, unfortunately, also on a little bit of a grim note, there was a police incident here today, and as a result of that, we put the captain at the front of the agenda because he's been working hard on this. He has some updates that people might want to hear. And again, he's been here about a year now, right, Captain?
18 months.
Yes, and he's very responsive. He's going to give out his information. He's got his community neighborhood coordinating officers here. So we really want to give him a warm welcome because he's working very hard for City Island. So let's give him a hand, Captain Thomas Fraser.
Thanks, Sean. Thank you to our elected officials. Thanks for having me. I see a lot of unfamiliar faces, which is a good thing. As John mentioned, my name is Thomas Fraser. I'm the commanding officer of the 45th Precinct, which stretches from City Island all the way down to Bronx. With me today are my neighborhood coordination officers, Jason Williamson and Jessica Gresinger. Behind them is my Special Operations Lieutenant, Tom Joseph. He's kind of like my enforcer. He goes out there and gets speeders off the road, quality of life issues, loudspeakers. He's the guy that you want going out there doing that kind of police work. So my hat's off to them. They're always a great support system to myself and the community. So thank you guys for being here. Those of you that don't know me, like John said, I'll come in on the end of the year. It'll be about a year that I've been here. I can't believe how fast the time is going. Really. I feel like as you get older in life, the days go by faster. Certainly when you're dealing with a lot of different things on a professional level, the days go by even faster. So again, thanks for having me. I have 18 years completed. No, I already have 18 years. It'd be 19 completed with the agency in summer of 2019. I was in the September 11th Recruit Academy class. So I was down at Ground Zero in a gray shirt during the entire event. So definitely had a profound impact throughout my life and my career for sure. I bounced around different boroughs. The only borough I haven't worked in is Manhattan. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but I've worked in every other borough, including Staten Island, believe it or not, and almost every other bureau, Detective Bureau, Housing Bureau, except I've never worked in transit, and I'm hoping to never have to work in transit. I'm not too thrilled with the breathing quality down there. But feel free to ask me any questions. I'll get into this incident this morning really fast. These are two young adults, 16 years of age. Neither one of them have an arrest history. It's a dispute over sneakers. Looks like one gentleman was trying to sell the sneakers to another gentleman. They had a dispute, which kind of turned into a fist fight, and they both grabbed knives. So one of the two involved got nicked a couple times. So he's stabbed, but the wounds are not serious. So he was in and out of the hospital within 2 hours. Gave him some staples. We made arrests. Both individuals were arrested because they both had knives, and one is claiming that the other was trying to rob him of the sneakers, and the other obviously is a victim of the felony assault. The Bronx DA's office will not throw charges up against these kids because they don't have records, and all the parents have been cooperative. Both parties involved have been cooperative, and it's just kids kind of being reckless and being stupid kids, to be perfectly honest. So the complaint report stays, but the prosecution doesn't, and it really comes down to are these kids troubled kids? They just need a little better guidance, and right now it looks like they need better guidance. So both individuals knew each other. Looks like they were friends in the past, and maybe have had a recent falling out. Any questions or concerns about that incident? Start here. We'll work our way back.
Were they from City Island?
Yeah, one individual lives here permanently, and one was staying here temporarily. So yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Was PS 175 involved?
Not involved at all. It just happened to be where one of the two individuals lives near the school. So no relation to the school whatsoever. and neither one of the individuals go to school anywhere near here.
So there was a bunch of rumors where that was on lockdown, the school wasn't put on lockdown.
Right.
Well, that's an automatic reaction from school safety anytime something occurs. So the school was on lockdown, yes, as a result. Again, it had no relation to the incident, just close proximity. Yes, ma'am.
Was there any indication that either of these young men had been drinking alcohol or using drugs?
I spoke to both of them. I didn't get that notion. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
Could you repeat the question for the rest of the back of the room?
So, young lady up front mentioned, could there have been alcohol involved, and could they have been drinking at the time of the incident? And my answer was, I don't believe so. And I spoke to both students, or not both juveniles, and I didn't think there was any alcohol involved. Yes, ma'am.
Did this happen during school hours? Should they have been in school, or was this after?
Yeah, just before 8 o'clock, right? Well, one of the individuals goes to high school completely far away from here, and the other individual hasn't attended school yet, but this is only the second week, correct? So close to the time that they should have been in school, I would say, yes, pretty fair assessment that they probably should have been in school, yeah. In terms of the 4-5 precinct in 2019, we have a slight decrease in crime for year to date. Our big ticket items are car theft right now. We're spiking in that, and things being taken off cars, or cars being broken into. Those are our biggest challenges right now. Honda Accord, rim and tires, Acuras, rim and tires. My suggestion is if you have a newer model Honda or Acura to get wheel locks, maybe double wheel locks. You can get them at AutoZone or in these stores, and it'll slow down the thieves enough where they go find another Honda, and they won't steal from you. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you know, the island is small, and a lot of things are posted on Facebook of what people see. And there's a lot of bikes being stolen. There's a lot of youth going up and down the blocks, taking things.
Okay, this is not. This came up recently.
There is a group. There is a group that are harassing some islanders now, and there is a building taking the elephant out of the room. Now, if people see things, I know Jessica works right with the community, right? Is it anonymous if somebody wants to say something? I know some people would like to come forward and say what they see, and then they're afraid of retaliation. Because there is things going on this island.
You can report anything you want anonymously, yes. The only people that will know what phone number you called from is us. So yes, to answer your question, you can report anything you want anonymously. Jessica Gressinger has been working with this issue. It's not the first time we've heard about this. We've spoken to the guardians at that household not too long ago, working to try to control some of this reckless behavior. So this is an ongoing issue that we're aware of, that we're trying to tackle.
And do you have any surveillance on drug distribution on the island? Is there anything current or any?
I don't have any open complaints of drug dealing. Those most of the time, to go back to your first question, are anonymous, but we don't have any open complaints of drug dealing in the entire city island. We have an Argus camera that was recently installed thanks to Mark Gjonaj at the beginning of the island, I can tune in from my phone, or we can tune in from a desktop at the precinct, whenever we want, and we can see who's coming in and out of City Island. And the idea is for investigative value in case something does happen. In March of 2019, there was shots fired at the gas station. I think it was a Sunoco over there. And we had difficulty tracking down the vehicle that was involved, that the perpetrators fled in. We eventually figured it out, but it took a crazy amount of legwork. If that camera was up at the time, we would have had that instantaneously, the plate number, and we would have run it and find out whose car it belonged to, which ended up being one of the perpetrators' moms, their mother. Actually, the car reverted her back to her in Manhattan.
I just want to say one other thing. The incident happened like on my block. And
Today?
Yeah, and the response time was quick.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
Very
Glad to hear it. Thank you.
They were all over.
Yes, ma'am.
Real quick, just to get back to the incident with the two young men. We live on the same block, and there was a lot of police activity there. and that's kind of far from the, you know, where it originated from. How did we have so many police, and what happened that you know, we just...
So the question is that there was a lot of police response, not at the exact location where the incident took place. So to my knowledge, I wasn't here on scene this morning, but to my knowledge, speaking to the supervisor that was, there was a little bit of confusion as to what actually occurred. I don't know if the stories were exactly the truth from the start, but through some good investigation by the responding units and the patrol supervisor, they figured out what took place. So sometimes it could be hectic at these scenes of police incidents, and it takes a few minutes to find out what actually took place.
It was a little bit, you know, it was a little confusing because we, all of a sudden, you know, we heard all this police activity and we were a little concerned. Did it initiate or land up where we lived? We didn't have that information. So.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question. Yes, ma'am.
Well, it looked as if when I came down and there was a lot of police activity, I too live on Hawthorne Street, this young teenager, I think, was hiding right around 104 Hawthorne. And they went in and they got him and they put him in the ambulance because he was there. So I thought it was terrific.
Right. And you may not have wanted us to know that he was stabbed at that point, but I'm just taking a wild guess. But yes, sir.
Can you maybe write a nice letter to the DOT suggesting zebra stripes on our crosswalks, something on the island? Because, you know, as anybody who lives here knows, high traffic times, it's very difficult to find somebody willing to let you cross the street. And with Vision Zero, that might be something they're willing to do.
We'll follow up with that. I'm glad you mentioned that, sir. So,
Mr. Gjonaj could write that letter.
I also
Write it down.
another thank you is in order to Mark Gjonaj with the traffic agents that were here this summer. He was instrumental in getting them here. So I think it definitely helped quite significantly. You know, we'd like to have them all year round, but I don't think that's realistic.
I'm going to address that part. So my frustration
ma'am.
about the traffic agents is, you know, during the day, when they're not needed, they're kind of in their car, but when they're needed, you need to get out of their car. And what's very frustrating to me is then when they're really needed, there's 4 cars sitting down by Johnny's Reef. I'm like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. So like, they don't know who supervises them or who tells them. And I granted some days it's not. There's a lot of times that they're not needed and they can sit in their cars. But when there's 4 cars down the end of the island and in front of the island, people don't get on. It's a little frustrating. As we're in September, the flow is over, but I mean, there's
It ultimately falls under me, but John and I have spoken about that a few times when we felt like they were kind of off pulse for a variety of reasons, depending on the weather. We spoke about it and we tried to rectify
I
it.
get it, like, hey, there's no need to stand out there and twiddle your thumbs, but you need to be aware of the timing of it, because sometimes it's very, like, dinner traffic.
Can you remind me next spring and we'll...
I remind you.
She will remind you. Karen, just building on that, just 1 second, John. Just building on what Kerry just said, and again, I'm grateful to the councilman and to you and to everyone who was involved in getting more traffic agents this year. It did seem like, you know, that we've had presences some years that are better than others. Last year, we submitted a traffic petition that had over 700 signatures. And it would really be great, I think, speak for everyone. And again, I know the councilman takes the traffic situation seriously, I have no doubt of that. I know you take the traffic situation seriously, I have no doubt of that. But what can we do as a community to mobilize? I mean, we're coming to the point now where if we have to go rally down there in April or May, I think you'd fill a couple of school buses, to be perfectly honest with you. And again, we're not alleging, because we know everybody's working hard, this is not the blame game here, but what can we do to help our own argument here?
That's a tough one. So I would just do the same thing we did this year. Let's rely on the councilman, myself, you, and we'll pull together and try to get it done the same way we did this year, assuming that we're all still going to be in the same
I know
place
it was
this time next
frustrating that
year.
they were here and not working.
Yeah.
I mean, mostly they got compliments. I heard a couple complaints for sure, but I would say overwhelmingly 90% of what I heard feedback-wise from the agents was positive. You guys get the same, right?
Yeah, well, and one thing with them being parked at Johnny's Reef, also, we had Orchard Beach Portable that was just doing the fire lane. So they weren't traffic agents. They were in a smart car, but they weren't traffic agents. So they were just trying to be present.
You don't know that, and I'm seeing the traffic at the front of the island, and I got 3 cars down here. I'm like, it doesn't make sense. And then you see the car sitting in the circle, not in their car.
And
You know,
just
in
one
their
thing-
car. That's all I'm going to say, right? And like, it's a little frustrating.
And we'll let Kim and John go after this. but just Sunday evenings seem to be, or Sunday late afternoon seem to be the absolute worst. For whatever reason, that is the absolute time. I don't know whether it's a changing of the shifts or what's happening. And I know I have to say the captain, every time I text him or emails him, he does respond. And it's not a captain issue or a councilman issue or any of that. It's just how do we build our voices here? Because you're right, we're trying to get you the data. But what can we do? Because we do hear a lot, particularly that the agents are,
I would say if come next spring we think we're not getting the agents, then we come up with some creative ideas to make sure they are here.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Kim, John, and then this lady. I'm sorry, I really didn't mean to cut everybody off here. You had something you wanted to
Is
say.
there a specific protocol that the agents are supposed to be following specifically in the merge of the circle? Because that seems to be the area that I can handle sitting in traffic. I know that it's kind of a necessary evil, but when I'm kind of, worried about merging with people who are just sort of not following the rules and the traffic agent isn't necessarily facilitating a proper merge, I think that's 99% of the issue that people have. Yes, we get it, traffic is happening, but that merge is a nightmare.
And
And
the circle, you mean? Off the circle.
Coming from Turtle Cove around into the circle, you have
4 lanes of
you have
traffic.
4
right,
lanes.
one.
You have marks. The marks on the circle are not well done. So in that respect, I think there's another avenue we can go down to get the markings on the circle better, so that there's something to facilitate more properly. But sometimes the agents are real go-getters, and they're like, you here, like they're really facilitating it, like you see kind of in Manhattan. And sometimes they're just like, la 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 la. And honestly, if that's what our resources are going towards, it's not helping. Like, we need resources that are working toward making it better, but if the resources are just standing there, that's wasted money, really it is. So I'd like to see a better consistency, and I think a lot of people probably would agree with me that we want it to be consistent. If there's a best way to do it, we want it always to be the best way, and we want the people to be trained to do it that best way.
Yep. Everybody else have other questions about?
We have John, then we had, I'm sorry, Rose, and then we had Josh. And then we do have 2 other guest guys. We're going to give you 2 minutes at the
Just
end,
to
Mr.
answer
Blackman.
you,
So,
in terms of protocol, in terms of protocol,
you guys can just stand up.
not really. They kind of, I believe they learn as they work.
Some of them know, so figure out who the ones are that know how to do it right, and have them training the others how to do it right, because that will make a difference.
Comes down to communication with
Yes.
what you hear in
People,
John and myself.
that's when you're getting the thank yous and the applause, is when those traffic agents are acting as traffic agents.
It does
and
fall on
really
me though. If
directing.
there's someone out there that's not directing traffic and is supposed to be, then it falls on me.
I have some photos in my phone I can show you.
There we go. All right, John, Rosa, Josh, and then we're going to move on to the next guest. Again, everybody has Post-its here. So if you didn't get your question, write it on the Post-it, and we're going to email it all on over to the captain. We're going to address it at the next meeting. So your voices still can. John.
I'm going to be real brief because the smart young lady to my left here touched on a lot of what I was going to say. I've been paying attention to how they do the traffic management around here for a long time. Maybe I just kind of like remember what they do that works and what they do that doesn't. So there's been a lot of both. What seems to not happen is there's not a lot of consistency in the protocol and the tactics that they use on a given day. It seems to change an awful lot. And there are definitely some that have worked very well and others that haven't. So, the question, suggestion is there a consistent supervisor that can really pay attention on a busy days, what's working, what's not working, and report back to you or the traffic sergeant and say, hey, this is like the best practices that we've developed. It's really, I'm sure policing all goes down to best practices in the end.
Similar to Kim's question, so it should be the same supervisor, but it won't be every single day. I would say at least part of the week it was the same supervisor, but that comes down to communication between them and me and myself and them.
You'd like to see a consistent, methodology.
Can you remind me in the spring?
These guys, they will remind you.
I'll probably forget.
These guys will remind you. Very patient, Rosa.
So
Go ahead.
when they get here next summer, we'll make sure we make the message clear.
Yes.
I have a question about the fire lanes. Are these people that are jumping the fire lanes supposed to get a ticket? Because these cops are sitting there watching them, and I don't understand that. They go over the bridge, and people on the fire lane just starting from the bottom of the
Cutting
bridge
the rest
up
of the
and-
traffic off. you
Yeah.
mean?
Yes.
I mean, they don't even wait until they get to a point where they have to turn. I understand if you have to make a turn that you get in the fire lane.
Right,
But
yeah.
they go the whole fire lane, these agents are standing there watching them, nobody said, there's nobody standing on the bridge. There should be a car
So the
on
traffic
the
agents
bridge
really
or something.
don't
in the
issue
fire
summonses,
lane.
they just direct traffic. So
So
they're
we're
kind of,
supposed to give them a ticket and
We
they
are.
don't stop.
But,
yeah, we
but
are.
if you're not there,
You're not there?
Well,
can they have cameras and take?
and then just to be clear, the captain did arrest someone this summer for speeding. When I texted him at 1 in the morning when the person was going on and off the avenue, so credit where it's due. We don't acknowledge the good and the bad, but we were actually working with our elected officials to get a speed camera in front of the school, and we were on. Yeah, I spoke to the commissioner today, so I know that they are looking into that as
That would
well.
be a great idea.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm sorry,
and
right now.
that's important. So I don't want you to feel that's a very important thing. And it's funny, one of these meetings, someone brought up, could we get a speed hump on the avenue? And I said, you can't do speed humps on the avenue because it's a bus route. You can't do that. Well, again, everyone here is holding everyone accountable, including me. And a person found a street in Brooklyn where a bus route is and had speed humps on it. And it's actually, I spoke to the DOT commissioner today, it's called a speed cushion. And they're testing these out in Brooklyn right now. It's right next to Marcy Playground. Yeah, so just so if Kai's watching this, Kai, thank you for keeping me honest as well. And they are examining if these speed cushions can work. And they're going to check on it. And if they do work, we're going to be reaching out to Mark and Mike and everyone else. And we're going to be pushing to get one of these on City Island because I live on the avenue and the drag racing is ridiculous. And I think everyone shares that goal. And, you know, cops can't be there forever. So we're going to do Josh first, then Chris, and then you, sir. Okay.
I think that your presence at the circle has been definitely beneficial. I think most people's frustration, I know certainly bothers me, is only when someone's like all the way in the third lane, they cut off everybody, and then they try to, ram their car right in there. And I would just love to see that guy like have to go back around the circle.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's what everybody's really happy. And if that happened, I think like everything would just flow. You could merge those 3 lanes down to one a lot smoother without somebody coming in on the 4th lane and just cutting everybody off. Because it slows everybody else down. Because now this guy's got to stop, this guy, so on and so forth. As long as the officer or agent there is making sure that's not happening, I think everything would move. Like better, I think everybody would probably be pretty happy.
Understood.
Thank you for the suggestion. Chris and then Rory, and then we're going to move on to the next guest because again, we have 3 guests and we've already been here for 30 minutes and it's hot and we want to get this whole meeting done at 9 o'clock so you're not throwing things at me. Chris, go ahead.
First of all, thank you all for doing
Thank
a
you.
dangerous, often thankless job. One thing, in the past several years, we've had a couple of fatalities on the bridge due to accidents. When we've had those accidents, the island's been shut down. When it's been shut down, especially at night with people coming off the island, people in the back don't know what's going on, so next thing they're in the fire lane, next thing they're in the oncoming traffic lane. Now you have the roadway completely blocked. If there was a need for an emergency vehicle, an ambulance or whatever to come on, they couldn't get on the island. Now the times that it's happened, the accident investigation unit is there. The officers are there. People are trying to come on the island who live here, and there's no contingency plan. It's not an answer you're going to give me now, I understand that, but maybe we could have parking at Rodney's Neck, parking at Orchard Beach, people walking, whatever it might be, to get people to get back home and to get traffic in order.
I think the idea is to investigate the accident thoroughly, but still pull the traffic through. We don't want to ever shut down the bridge if we can help it. Do you remember the last time this happened?
Well, it happened once with a young lady that worked here, was riding a bicycle, she got hit by a car. Another time it was a guy in one of those trike type vehicles.
The ATV was 08.
And he crashed and they had the accident in 6 hours, they shut it down. Now the restaurants are closed, they gate their parking lots. And now you got a ton of people trying to get off the island, no restroom facilities, no nothing. And, they almost try to break into the Sunoco station just to get something to drink or use the bathroom. So I think it's something in the background to keep, you know.
Take a look
And
at
we
it.
are going to have OEM, the Office of Emergency Management, at one of the future meetings. So this is definitely be something we bring up then. Roy's the last question for
I
this.
just had one other one about the quality of life. We kind of hit on that with the people that, you know, the incidents that we've had. And, you know, we get the troubled youth, the no guidance, the so on and so forth. There's been a lot that's changed recently. And a lot of it has been, you know, as someone said, let's let it out of the bag from that building. You had the blasting music, which you guys addressed. You had the graffiti all over the playground, all over every bus stop sign. You had this incident over a pair of sneakers. You kind of got 8, 9, 10-year-old kids that have no hesitation to tell an adult at fourth, and they have no guidance. But what does that do for our quality of life?
Well, one thing we are doing, and I've actually spoken to Jessica about this, we did reach out to the landlord of the building you're referring to today, and we're going to see about trying to get him into the Clean Halls program. So we reached out to him, we left him a message, and we are trying to do that. And you know, a lot of this is, you know, these guys work very hard, and I think what we have to gear ourselves, and I know you feel the same way, I think a lot of times what we have to gear ourselves to do is how can we support them if something's not a PD issue. And you're talking about 8, 9-year-olds.
It's not your guys'
Yeah.
issue, I'm not saying that. You have to react.
Yeah.
But, you know, Mark, you have a vested interest in the community. Some of these landlords don't. You know, they don't live here, they don't, so this is just, make sure I get my check from the city for all the rents at the beginning of the month, and whoever lives there, who cares? A lot of them are nice people, there's a few that are pretty. Is there a vetting process? Is there a way to take someone who's troubled? And if you're telling somebody F off when you're 9 years old, what are you going to tell them when your hormones are raging and you're 15?
Let's put a pin in that because Mark's going to be speaking soon, and I know he's got a lot to say on that. Roy, last question on this one.
Okay, just some quick questions about the technology behind the speed cameras. I'm wondering if they work at night and if they work on motorcycles or if they can just catch cars.
They work till 10 o'clock at night on weeknights. It's all on the weekdays. It starts at 6 a.m. to 10 p.m.
But they can see in the dark is what
It should have a flash, and I don't think the vehicle would make a difference.
Trust me, if the city can make money off it, they're doing it. All right, so that's good. All right, so thank you. Let's give the captain a round of applause. Again, guys, the Post-its are going around. If you need a Post-it, write down your question. We do give them to the guests, and we do give them back. John, you have a question? So pass the Post-its around. Let's get the questions, because we build our input based on what you guys said. All right, so does anyone have anywhere they have to run to first, or?
I'm always running.
You're always running. Okay, so we're going to go first.
I'll defer to the...
I can find that as well.
I believe in age...
That's all. There we go. Okay. So first up, last month we had State Senator Biaggi. Now we have our other 2 elected officials for this area. So we've kind of hit the triple crown in 6 months. We've got almost everybody. So without further ado, somebody who's working very hard for City Island, Mike Benedetto.
Thank you, everybody. You know, I'm a guy, I just go through life, and willy-nilly, and I never think things out too much. So I'm coming here from Co-op City, where I was meeting my constituents up there, and I'm going, okay, good, I'm going to have a nice conversation with my friends out on City Island. And I get here, and I'm listening for the last 40 minutes about the traffic on City Island, and you guys are coming up with questions left and right. Right now, I'm scared, okay? I don't know what's going to come at me tonight. But, and actually, John, I'm not even too sure where to begin. We had a wonderful session up in Albany, passing a host of bills that we in the state assembly were pushing for years. And we never really had a true partner in the Senate, and this year we did, and we were able to continue the effort that we began in January when I was had the honor of speaking to you guys, and we carried it through to the end of session. there are things that are going on now. I'm going to try to talk local and some of the things that are coming on up. We have been involved heavily with the MTA over the last several months, because they have their bus plan that they're trying to put out and so on. And I've been involved with the MTA's. I can't tell you how many times I've personally spoken to President Byford and President Pat Floyd about the busing and the need of busing in my community. And of course, we've gotten some decent victories, like 24-hour service out here on City Island. I just credit that as a splendid thing. We'll work on, as things go forward, making things even a little better, restoring some stops here and there, and make it better for the quality out here. So that's one issue that's been occupying my mind. We also have, and one of the things that we passed with the budget this year, is that we created a congestion pricing zone in Manhattan. Okay, and we're going to take that money that we get from congestion pricing, give it to the MTA so they can meet the needs for improving the subways for their long-range, plans over the next 10 years to bring quality service to the subways underneath the direction of Andy Byford. In conjunction with that, I pointed out just a couple weeks ago a plan that was proposed by Gridlock Sam Schwartz. He used to write with the Daily News, called himself Gridlock Sam, was the traffic commissioner of New York City for a while. He came out with a plan suggesting congestion pricing, and part of that plan, he said, should contain, if you're going to do that for Manhattan, you should reduce the tolls on the bridges, Triborough, Whitestone, Frog's Neck, by 45%. Okay? And I made it a point to bring that out, that was a part of the plan, and that the commissioners who are going to be called together to come up with the final decision on how congestion pricing is going to work, that should be a vital part of the plan. Another thing that's going to be coming up, and we're going to really be discussing this in another month or so, is something which the Regional Planning Association came up with. It was an idea that they called the Tri-Borough Plan. You want to get to Brooklyn right now, you've got to go into Manhattan and go into Brooklyn from there. Underneath the Tri-Borough Plan, and we're going to call for the MTA to include the Tri-Borough Plan in their next capital budget, using existing lines, rail lines, the Metro North lines that are being proposed for the 4 stops here in the Bronx. They would use those lines, carry you into Queens, and using existing rail lines in Queens to carry you across Queens into Brooklyn. So you can have a one-stop travel straight through, bypassing that Manhattan Island and going right to Brooklyn. So that's another initiative. And I'm trying to piece together my colleagues in Queens and in Brooklyn to make a tri-borough committee to push the plan. Lastly, and this is a personal thing, I've been pushing this for years and we're starting to get a little traction on it. I introduced a bill about 8 years ago. Football. I passed a bill on football, the governor signed it just last week as a matter of fact, that any young kids who sign up for football, their parents must be given a pamphlet on concussions and the dangers of concussions. And not just concussions, just as important, subconcussive blows to the head that sports like football will create on the kids. That bill was passed, the governor, it is now law, going forward that's going to be given out. But I've got another bill that talks to tackle football. And the bill kind of says, if you're 12 years old or under, you shouldn't be paying tackle football, okay? When I introduced it, I was laughed at 8 years ago, whenever it was. I had maybe 2 or 3 assembly people sign on as co-sponsors of the bill. I'm up to about 32 co-sponsors right now, and the speaker has just given me permission. It's going to happen next month. We're going to have an actual hearing on the bill. We're going to have experts in the medical world and the athletic world who are going to come testify the pros and cons on that particular bill, and it's going to draw a spotlight. And we're going to hear even new reports that are yet to come out just within the next couple weeks regarding the dangers of blows to the head, subconcussive blows in developing children. When we're talking about kids under 12 years old, we're talking kids who have, people who have their brains expanding at a very rapid rate, developing at a very rapid rate, and these are the years to protect them. So I'm extremely happy about that. I can go on and any number of things, but I'm not. Okay, I think it's more important to hear from you guys. And John, I'll turn the floor to you.
Sure. So we'll do Stephanie, Ann, Stephen, and Roy. If you guys can just stand, and we'll do one question after the other here. So that we can. Hi, Stephanie.
My question for you is, we have a lot of wonderful high school students here.
Yeah.
And I would like to know, how do we get internships for these high school students or college students into your office? Is there someone I can speak to? Or send in their resume or what you require?
Sure. You just call my office. You talk to my chief of staff, John Colazzi. Okay, and John will take their names and we will interview all comers.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And by the way, again, it's just been an interesting year as chairman of the Education Committee of the New York State Assembly. My life has changed completely. I used to chair the city's committee immediately before, a very important committee, but a rather leisurely committee, okay? The Education Committee is anything but. My days go from 9 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon, and then we run off to session. It's been incredible, but wonderful, and the issue confronting the city of New York regarding the specialized high schools, regarding the private high schools and the religious high schools and the standard equivalency are there, and these are issues that we are trying to work out resolutions on. And
Yes, is there any chance that we'll ever get a ferry?
I'd like to tell the story, so I'm going to tell it, okay? I'm sorry, John, and I'm sorry for you guys who are waiting to come out here, but it's a story that I kind of relish. I've been yelling at the Parks Department for years about Ferry Point Park. Really annoying with them, okay? Because I love that park. It's scenic views are wonderful. It's not taken care of at all. And the parking lot. If you ever been to the parking lot, well, that parking lot was like that when I was in college and tried to park down there with young ladies. You know, it was terrible. You damaged your car. It was third parking lot. It was terrible. Years I'm yelling at them. Then all of a sudden, I become chairman of the Education Committee. And all of a sudden, my phone is ringing, and it's City Hall. The mayor wants to talk with you. Come down to Gracie Mansion tonight if you got time. Sure, Mr. Mayor. What's up? Well, it's mayoral control. It expires this year. I need support, Mike. I want this extended at least until the end of March. Sure, Mr. Mayor. I'm a supporter of mayoral control, and I'll do whatever we can to get that bill passed. Because, I'm in favor of it too. And we did. The mayor, at the end of our little conversation, says, "Oh, by the way, Mike, my people tell me that you complain a lot about Ferry Point Park, okay? And that we need to fix it. We are going to do that. And you know what, Mike? You've been talking about a ferry going to Ferry Point Park. We're going to bring that ferry to Ferry Point Park beginning next summer. And we're even going to pave the parking lot for you." So,
Ferry for City Island.
So I am ecstatic about that, but you know, it's gone from Soundview, now going into Ferry Point. The next step,
City
logically,
City
is
Island.
move it around the bend and bring it right down
City
here
Island.
in City Island
Orchard
then too.
Beach.
Okay, or maybe Orchard Beach, and they can take care of a whole multiple of people. You know, one of the things in the city of New York that we have not taken, capitalized on is our waterways. We're surrounded by it, use it, and so on. So we're getting there step by step.
And we're going to do a push with all our elected officials, the Assemblyman, Senator Biaggi, and the councilman, to push for Orchard Beach this fall.
And the
So we're gonna-
Congresswoman. And the Congresswoman.
And the Congresswoman, of course, the Congresswoman. Green New Deal, all the way. And we actually have a representative from the Congresswoman's office here. We're going to get to her in a minute. So we're going to keep going here so that way we can do that. Stephen.
Okay, so I heard you say earlier that the congestion pricing is going to pay for a lot of the MTA's needs over the next few years.
Yeah.
And that's great because I'm assuming that means that fares don't have to go up anymore because of that, right?
Oh, no. I don't know what you were smoking when you came in here. Listen, that is a great hope, but it's a dream. I would like that to be the case. One thing I don't want to happen, though, I want fair, sensible increases over the course of... Listen, I represent Co-op City. It's a wonderful place. Co-op City, for years, refused to raise their maintenance charges, okay? Because the people who were elected to the board were afraid to do it, they lose votes. Okay, and so for years and years and years, when they should have, raised the maintenance, they never did. And what happened? The whole place deteriorated. They needed to take out a $750 million loan to do all the repairs, okay? Their periodic increases will happen. Okay, to think otherwise is silly. Hopefully they're fair, and hopefully it's done so you know it's coming, okay? And they're able to maintain. As part of the problems we had with the MTA was because the city of New York and the state of New York slowly declined the money we gave to the MTA, and their infrastructure fell down. It was just terrible. Between the year 1988 to when I got in there in 2004, the state increased in the share what they gave to the MTA decreased from 20% down to about 8%. And the city had an equal amount of money that they didn't. And that's what caused the problems. Fair, logical increases are part of the game. But even with congestion pricing, we're not going to get no increase, I'm sure.
All right, Roy, your question. And then does anyone else have a question for the Assemblyman? Because we want to get the councilman on and we have some housekeeping things. So after Roy, does anyone else have a question for Assemblyman Benedetto? All right, you got a yeah. Okay, Roy, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to try not to scare you. I know you said you were scared, but...
Go ahead.
So I got a whole laundry list of things here, but I want to really just concentrate on one thing, which I suspect that you're not going to be happy here, and I suspect that many of the people in the room will not be happy here. But I'm actually opposed to the plan to do the toll rebates on the bridges. I don't think that it is in the best interest of the city to encourage people to use their cars. You've already talked about, fare increases. I mean, funding in a budget is basically a zero.
You sent me the email.
I did.
That was you. I had
glad-
one email against that plan, and it came right here from City Island, and I'm looking at them.
I'm glad to hear it. Thank you, sir. So for the benefit of the other people in the room, I'll repeat what I told you.
Well, no. I understand the point you're making, okay? Don't give those rebates out there. People should pay in cars. They should pay for cars, okay?
It's the after hours. City Hall And you have a point. Underneath the best of all possible worlds, you're correct. But the reality is, people do use their cars. They use it to go out to the island where there is no direct, easy link to get out there, to work, to visit relatives, to go shop, and you can say the same thing about Queens. And that's why
I grew up in
the
suburban New
tribal
Jersey. I got my driver's license on my 17th birthday, like everybody else in suburban New Jersey. So I understand that part.
The point you made is well taken, and I understand.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Well, that was it, that one?
Where's the
That's
laundry?
wonderful,
You
Wade.
want me to go down the list?
No, it's okay. It's a pleasure to be out here, everybody. And anybody wants me at any time, any hour at all, you can call my daughter, who's a City Island resident, and
I'll give out her personal cell phone number, so everyone here can call her at all
she'll
hours.
post it girl here.
And then two things the Assemblyman didn't mention that he's also been very involved in is, again, we talked about the speed camera at the school.
Yeah.
He was one of the lead people pushing that, making sure that wasn't lost in the Albany negotiations, that this is a very high priority for us. And also the oyster rebate bill.
Yes.
So there's a bill that's been introduced that basically is going to make it so the oyster, when they collect the shells, which a lot of people here like Barbara and Stephanie and a few of the others do, that the restaurant now can go through to an agency and apply for a rebate. So he's going to be sponsoring that bill in the Assembly. So
The bill's been introduced,
Yes.
it's out there right now, and I also made a substantial little donation to the Project Abby.
Yeah, thank you.
Because I believe in that tremendously.
thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Good.
Okay. So we're going to keep going on here. We have a lot of honored guests here, and the next person, who I think I see more in City Island than some City Islanders, is our Councilman Mark Gjonaj. So let's give him a hand. Thank him for coming out. It's a surprise, but we appreciate him being here, and I'll hand it up to you.
Thank you, John. First of all, I know it's a long night, and having 3 speakers and considering the other conversations that we had, I apologize, but because of the unfortunate incident this morning, I felt it was important for me to be here. First. Secondly, I was not going to let Assemblyman Benedetto take the storm and be here by himself, so I was here for moral support.
Thank you.
More like I wanted to share in the spotlight, but that's besides the point. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Councilman Mark Gjonaj, but on City Island I am known as Nurse Roberta's husband, a title which I proudly answer to. I lived on City Island with my boys for 14 years, moved out in 2012 when I decided to run for office. It was probably the best time of my life. For a while, my 2 sons, which started and graduated at PS 175, were extremely upset with me that we left the beautiful island to live on Pelham Parkway, but within time, I guess they got used to it. I someday look forward to returning to City Island. I have nothing but incredible memories of this island. With that being said, you heard so much tonight, but I did want to touch up and follow up on some of the questions. I used extensive capital in making sure that we get the traffic agents on City Island. And each year it's the same song and dance. They say no, I say yes, and then we go back and forth for weeks until we convince them that they have to do it because it's the right thing to do. I experienced the traffic myself for 14 years driving off and on the island. So I know, and I know how important it is and what it means to this island. So I will continue that fight, and I'll make sure that we get the best agents possible. The problem that has been explained to me is when there's a shift in agents. So we get agents here that are instructed on how to control the traffic.
We like them.
And they're here because it's weekends and not everybody works 7 days straight, and they get rotating shifts and rotating weekends and all the other accommodations that have to be made due to scheduling. So they bring in fillers, and by the time they figure it out and where to stand and where to park and where to drive, it takes a while. But when it's brought to my attention, I get their supervisor on the phone. He gets them on the radios and he comes right over and he starts pointing where you should be and where you should stay and where you should park, and lets those 2 cars drive up and down through City Island. So it's about communication, folks. The more you let me know, and John does a great job letting me know when there's issues, but the more you let me know about the issues, the more we can get creative and resolve them. So problem, solution, and we move on to the next. The Harbor Patrol. So for those of you that have enjoyed the sounds of music till the wee hours of the morning during the summer months, we spent a lot working on this with the patrol. And it's the same issue that we have when it comes to traffic agents. The resources aren't there. It's that simple. So for those of you that get my newsletter, you'll see in the newsletter, there is a high turnover rate when it comes to traffic agents, and they transition into other fields. It's not an easy job, as you could only imagine, sitting out there giving out tickets or directing traffic in 12 months of the year in all type of weather and heat and cold and rain and snow. There's a high demand and they're constantly hiring. So understanding the supply and demand, well, and then they start, once you start new, you got to train them, they go through the whole process. That's the problem that we have with the traffic agents, but that's the same problem that we have with the patrol, harbor patrol. There isn't enough harbor police out there. So we've begun an initiative upon City Islanders' demand. It's not City Island, it is Throgs Neck Country Club and everyone else that that enjoys waterfront, that we get a dedicated harbor patrol boat, which we don't have. And I have to tell you, I have a great working relationship with the 4 or 5 commander, and I have an incredible relationship with the Assemblyman. I'm very fond of him. And collectively, we're able to work things out by putting our own pressures on agencies and departments to get the resources. But it also requires partnership with the community. We're only as good as the people that are working with us. And what you want from your elected officials, we don't have magic wands, and we can't make all your problems go away, and we can't give out unlimited amount of funding. But when it's important to you, it's important to us and the relationship that we have and how we're going to solve your problems. That's what I enjoy with Assemblyman Michael Benedetto, the 4-9 Precinct, and other elected officials as we address your problems. They're my problems. I will give you, because I understand that you're pressed for time, I'm going to leave a slew of things up here for you. Probably at the top of the list is participatory budgeting. You're going to help me figure out a way to give you your money back and spend it on projects that you feel are important to you and this community. This is feedback. It's $1 million. I'll be doing this throughout the whole district, and collectively we're going to determine what's in the best need of the 13th Council District. So I'll leave that here. I will make some other. The Argus cameras that you heard about in the 4-5 precinct, we were successful in getting 10 Argus cameras installed, 7 of which I funded, and 3 were funded by my predecessor, Jimmy Vaca. It takes a number of years to get these Argus cameras installed. My position is I need to make sure that law enforcement has all of the resources and equipment that they need about cameras. As a matter of fact, tomorrow, and being that's 9/11, I'm sure this is going to weigh heavily on your mind. We all should take a moment to ourselves and understand the loss and the damage and the tragedy that was inflicted upon us and shook the entire world. But tomorrow I have oath coming to my office. Why is this important? Not parking tickets, sanitation tickets, and any other city-issued ticket can be resolved with oath in my office. So rather than you going down to their office and sitting on line and waiting countless hours, they have a tremendous percentage of dismissals of these tickets. For those of you that have them or know someone that may, please get the word out. They'll be in my office tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. That everyone should serve in one form or another and give back to the greatest country that has given us so much. I'm indebted. My family's indebted. We've done extremely well here. I went into politics to make a difference. So I come with a different perspective of things. The business world, problem, solution, move on, next. It is probably the most frustrating thing for me in working with city agencies and departments to get things done. I'm talking about some of the basic things, folks. Cutting grass, filling potholes, street lights, things that you would figure they've mastered by now because nothing changes from year to year or decade to decade. It's the same issues. But not in this great city. Somehow we make things very, very complicated. I had to initiate a hashtag, ShameNYC, to get our departments and agencies to do the basic of issues. From littering, overflowing garbage cans, to potholes, to grass, to street lights, to you name it. It's all about quality of life for us. We're fortunate to live in a very safe district. We should look to make it safer. But it's the little things that impact us, traffic, overgrown grass. 1 year to get the grass cut on Palm Parkway. How many of you recall that the grass was cut some 2 months ago? It took a whole year. I started with them when the grass was 2.5 feet tall, continued when it was 4, got to 6, before we finally got it cut. Agencies don't speak to agencies. One, they work with one another while they care, to one morning they wake up and they say, you know, we're not going to do this no more. And now it's your responsibility, and you're supposed to do this, and I do that, and it becomes terribly draining on me. So we came up with a way to address that. Send me pictures. I immediately put it on the internet, and guess what happens? Things get done, yes. So shame NYC. Movie in the Square, Saturdays, 5 to 9 p.m. I'm going to rush through Michael Benedetto. Law enforcement. We're partially to blame. The 4-5 precinct is down a tremendous amount of officers through attrition. As many as 20. It's about 20% of the law enforcement. In addition to that, I don't know the number that are out on leave and who's on desk duty and a slew of others. They are tremendously understaffed. They can't even, there's a top-down approach, and the guy at the top says, just make sure my phone doesn't ring. And that's how the NYPD operates. I had lengthy discussions, some heated, with the top of command, that look at the 4-5 precinct as an area by, we don't need to replace the 20 plus officers because your crime stats tell us you don't need law enforcement. Well, here's the problem. Each time there's a crime that occurs that you don't report will lead to less officers and more crime. So it's your responsibility, no matter how small of a crime, to report it. So I recently had to foil everything from the NYPD. If they're going to use crime stats, now I had to foil head count citywide. The crime stats which are available, compare them citywide, so there should be no precinct in any other borough or in this borough that has more law enforcement when they have less crime stats. Then I have to consider 311 because it's just not crime stats and 911 calls. Every time you have a disturbance, it's not recorded on crime stats. A fight, a burglary, an accident, things that require law enforcement. But for those of you that have ever been in an accident, especially in the last 18 months, you can wait up to 6 hours for a law enforcement officer to show up to do a police report. That drains from the limited officers we have. So please, I encourage you, no crime is too small. 911 first, so it gets recorded. Your NCO officer second, so they can respond to the needs. Free legal services are offered in my office. HPD, well, that's not for you. reporting illegal dumping. This is one of my favorite. So now you've seen the challenges that we have. Certain neighbors, certain areas, desolate areas continue to get dumped on. It's normally a contract. It's always somebody from the neighborhood remodeling their house or removing an appliance and things of that nature. They don't want a cart and they don't want to take it apart, and they'll just go dump it somewhere. So I've been racking my brains on how to address this issue. I put a considerable amount of my discretionary funding into an organization called Wildcats. They respond to this stuff quickly. Cleanup, grass, disposal. We even do. And please, I want to share this with you as the winter comes in. We have snow removal for our seniors and disabled, provided they don't have the financial resources and they don't have somebody at home. So if you have a 20-year-old at home that wants to sit on Xbox all day, you shouldn't be asking for snow plowing. But there are many homeowners out there that are not physically able to do it and they don't have the resources. These are services that I offer through the associations and organizations that I funded that go a long way in making a difference in the lives of many. But getting back to sanitation, guess what I find out? The fines for first offenses, Assemblyman Benedetto, $4,000. Second, $9,000. Third offense, $18,000. Plus you can lose your car. Plus you can go to jail for 90 days. And you can get your driver's license suspended. But that's not the best. Here's the best part. If you witness illegal dumping, you capture the make, model, and license plate, the date and the time, and how much debris was illegally dumped, you get 50% of the fee the city collected. That's a pretty good gig where I come from, young man. What is 50% of a third violation if that was $18,000? $9,000 to sit there with a camera and take pictures of someone's destroying our neighborhoods. I'm all in for this one, folks. I think you will be too. Here's the information that you need. But it's meant to deter. And I don't think any of us are going to rely on that money. And if we are, good for you. But this is about deterring the illegal dumping. And then you'll get a reward if you want to contribute, fight illegal dumping.
It's a tax-free reward, right?
Young lady, there's nothing as tax-free in this city, I can tell you that. We'll even tax the thought you just had. But don't leave us to that. I'm going to speed this up, gentlemen. Free vaccines for dogs and cats coming up, 28th. Yes. I know. City Island Clam Chowder Festival, September 15th, will continue. For those of you that do get my newsletter, I think you understand how informational it is. For those of you that don't, please ask for the newsletter. Not only does it tell you what's going on in the community and all the events that we're having, things that we're doing, but it also gives you important stats, the 311 calls, what are the complaints, bike for the entire district, and other issues and survey questions. It's only together we're going to make our communities better. When I mean better, if it's safe, safer, clean, cleaner, and if we have a good quality of life, we want to make it a better quality of life. Please subscribe to that newsletter. It comes out every Monday. And on top of that, it tells you what I'm doing. You should know. And I pride myself in the hard work ethic that I have. I'm at it 7 days a week, and I got the pictures to show it. And I think we are done with everything. So if you have any questions, great. If not,
Save our trees.
Save our trees. Yes, Mr. Oh, speaking of trees. Oh, thank you for reminding me. How many of you have tree problems in front of your house? This has been a 2-year battle. So how many of you read the paper today? Oh, great. I got great news for you. Working in the city is not very easy, as I told you about these agencies and departments. So we relied on my dear friend in the Assembly. How many of you know Speaker Hasty? Carl Hasty, the Speaker of the State Assembly, was able to parlay a deal with the City of New York and the Mayor to give the additional funding that's needed to make sure that the sidewalks that are being destroyed by the city trees get replaced quicker. There's liens. Guys, and I say this so you understand what happens. You have a home, it's probably the single most valuable asset you have. Somebody trips and falls, it's a lawsuit. If you reported that sidewalk was damaged by the tree, the liability falls on the city. If you reported that the sidewalk is being destroyed by this tree, the city has to replace that sidewalk. But in the meantime, that doesn't stop people from giving you violations. And we have horrible stories and nightmares of homeowners that have received violations for a sidewalk that was destroyed by a tree that had nothing to do with them, that they couldn't touch to begin with. So the funding just went in. We're waiting anxiously to learn more about this problem and how they're going to expedite repairs, how they're going to remove liens and violations that were placed on homes that should have never been placed to begin with. And I know that Maria is a realtor, so she has purchased and sold many homes where, to the surprise of the owner, there was a sidewalk violation that wouldn't allow the transfer to go through. No one knows about these things. And then you find out what was a $500 violation, years later is $10,000. So, so with that in mind, I'm going to wrap it up unless you have any questions. And John said he wants to be here by 9 o'clock. Good luck, John.
Yeah, we'll take one question real quick.
Speaking about the city though with the trees, I have that situation in front of my house. The tree roots that the city planted, it's just tearing up my sidewalk. So I did call the city. Twice they've sent people out. They take pictures, they measure. This was at the beginning of the year. Nothing's been done, and I can see the sidewalk now. Those flags are getting up higher and higher. So
Please contact my office. We're going to figure out, they're going to expedite repairs and everything else that has to be done. And thank God for Carl Hasty, who magically found the funding and made the arrangements that the mayor get this done. Anybody else?
Vacant buildings.
Vacant buildings, vacancies on City Island.
Yeah, let's run some.
Tremendous problem.
Let's run some searches. Storefronts.
So we're working on,
Are there any initiatives?
yes, I explored one, I discussed it with the City Island Chamber, and we're looking at how we can come up with creative ways that these storefronts can be both commercial and living, work and living properties. And we're hopeful that we're going to market this to what would complement City Island. And that would be the arts and crafts, and that would be the painters and the artists of that nature that can come in and they can really use, they live somewhere, and they can use the space, and City Island's absolutely wonderful for that. We're looking at what it would take and the funding that would be needed, because the property owners don't have this money. You have to hire an architect, and to legalize it and bring it up to code can require extensive renovations. It's not something that many of these owners have the capability of doing. But I want to put one rumor to end. There is no tax benefit to a vacant property, despite what you've heard. It's equivalent to you saying, I refuse to work overtime because I don't want to pay more taxes. That's how real estate taxes are assessed on these properties. Whether they're occupied or vacant, you will pay an assessment as if that property was occupied. So the vacant properties, the owners are penalized by paying real estate taxes as if they were income producing. So if you have any ideas, I'm happy to listen. I'm willing to work with you to actually fill these vacancies that I've seen myself for almost 2 decades, since 1994.
Can I piggyback on that a little?
Yeah.
You said you work with the chamber to move a little slow. What about just wonderful people in this community, like the Rising Board? Why can't we work together? Some people don't get off their butts. And I had a patient girl. But you're a New Yorker. Like someone like Barbara Zahn would light a fire. That's what we need. Or Lois back there. We need
Why don't
people
we-
who get off their butts.
We're gonna bring Councilman
The chamber,
Gjonaj back,
that's just a
and he's
guy.
gonna answer a ton of questions the next time he comes back, but he was doing a lot, and we appreciate that
Yeah,
he
but
took the
this is
time.
important. Excuse me.
No, no, no.
I live here.
I know.
Excuse
I
me.
know.
I just want to be mean to him for no reason.
That's what I'm here for, being up by a politician. I left my cards up here, please don't hesitate. I pride myself on making myself available to you, and you'll be quite impressed as how your issues, no matter how small or big, I really am attentive to. God bless you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, sir. Sorry. That's my bad. I'm not dropping the mic as in the end of this meeting. Okay, so we're going to do a few things very quickly. Obviously, there was a lot going on in City Island tonight, so it's still a lot going on, and you're not going to want to miss the last few minutes because we have some things on the agenda that are very important as well. And we want to thank the councilman and the assemblyman and the captain and everybody who came by here. So the first thing we're going to do is we have David Diaz here, and he is co-chairing our next meeting is going to be centered on the environment and coastal resiliency. And David's doing a good job reaching out to all the environmental groups. We're helping him, but I'm going to let him speak about it because he's more knowledgeable. So let's give him a hand.
If you can hear me? Can you hear me? Clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. Yes, obviously the climate is our existential threat, right? So we can talk about all these other issues that we have that are taking place now, but if we don't do anything with the climate, then none of it matters anyway, right?
Yes.
So we are going to next meeting. Going to have a forum. We're going to bring in a bunch of different groups that represent in climate in different areas. What we want to do is focus on the global aspect of climate and how it is going to affect us locally, because we are a frontline community. And I know that what we just saw with the hurricane in the Bahamas, right? These hurricanes are not getting any smaller or weaker, they're getting stronger. We've had, in the last few years, the last 5 hurricanes have been Category 5. Right? I don't know if you know what happened with Sandy when it just sat here for about 6 hours rotating and doing the damage that it did. Could you imagine that Sandy, what happened in the Bahamas where it sat for almost 2 days? Right, so this is, I believe, one of the most important things that we really need to focus on now. So that's why next meeting, this is what we're going to be. So hopefully you can all come here and we can all learn something and figure out how we can do this,
When is the next meeting?
We are working on the date. Let me just
We're working on the date. The reason we don't have an answer for you is because the League of Conservation Voters, which is the premier environmental group in the state, through David's efforts and everyone else's efforts, they've agreed to come. But they have certain dates that didn't jive with our original date. But we want them. And we have a tentative agreement with Save the Sound, because we're going to talk about the water quality in the water around here. So these are all the big issues. Again, as David said, global issue, local problems we have here. So we're going to Robin's Neck, we're going to be talking about the landfill, we're going to be talking about the water quality here, we're going to be talking about resiliency. It's all very important. Barbara.
Yeah, obviously, and you can talk about it, the City Island Oyster Reef Project, which is very focused on the environmental issue, as well as the march. I think there's a Greta, I can't remember her last name right now. She's here in New York, and there's a massive demonstration, I think a week from Friday.
Yes.
It's going to be, if you're going to talk about the climate, you have to talk about that.
Yeah.
And is there anything that we or you are doing to help organize to be part of that?
So that's 100% right, everything you just said there. I think what we're looking to do is to bring in the experts, and we reached out to Riverkeeper, Friends of the Earth.
Friends of the Earth, there's also another local group their focus is on single-use plastics, things of that nature as well. So.
And we actually have someone here, it's actually from the Green New Deal campaign, right?
No. The Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah.
Yes, the
yeah.
AOC campaign. And
Somebody will do
Yeah.
something.
Why don't you come up?
Thank you.
No, come on up. What you have to say is very important to us. Come on up.
Yeah.
Let's give her a round of applause too.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for welcoming me here. This is lovely. I can't believe you guys live here. It's beautiful. Okay. So my name is Rebecca Rodriguez. I am Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's campaign manager. And so part of what I'm doing, I'm going to give like a brief intro. Yes. Part of what we're doing is really getting to know our local neighborhoods, our local communities. So this is a great opportunity for me to learn part of what's important to you, part of what's fun, part of what makes you all a community. So I hope to be a part of more meetings like this and attending more events like this. And I'm gonna just put it out there. A goal for me this year, next year, every year that she's in office is to have the Congresswoman be a part of this as well. This is her community. And our position is that when she's in DC doing whatever she's doing, I think it really helps to ground her and to keep her connected is by having FaceTime with all of you. So that's something that is a priority for me. I know her congressional office has that as well, but for me it's more from an organizing context, more from meeting with groups that are focused on helping to, the way I view this is how a community elevates itself. And so being a part of that and where she can help elevate that is why I'm here. So that being said, September 20th, the climate strike, we do have a group going, and we would love to have representation from the district. We have a specific area that will be marching, and I'm trying to arrange a little hello with Greta and the group that we go with. We've tried, this is like not public, but we've tried a couple times to have meetings with Greta. She's exhausted. It's been a very taxing trip for her, and so it hasn't worked in New York. So I'm trying to set up something where we know she'll be there, and it's going to be there's going to be a lot going on there, but we want to be respectful of what this means and the sacrifice that she's making to be here, but we also want to be responsive to that too. So if anyone is interested in walking with us and participating with us, David is connected to we have like a Bronx organizers group, is connected to us through there. We're happy to accommodate. We're meeting together, making up signs, and I'd like to try and arrange a small meet and greet if we can do it.
Where are you walking? Where are you
It's at the climate strike. It's in
New York or
in New York.
Washington?
Yeah, it's in New York. The Congresswoman will be in the DC one because she'll be in DC during that time. But we're organizing one in New York as well.
Yeah, send us the info. We'll share it on the page because we definitely want to support that being a frontline area in the United States. And thank you, David, for bringing our friend here. Because this is how good things happen. We bring the smart people in the room together. Right?
Just so you know, this is the campaign manager, so this is the top gun.
I liked you even when I didn't know that.
While I have the mic.
Sure.
Okay. Just a couple quick things. We are going to have our main campaign office in the Bronx. And I'm going to keep you all updated on where that is. I saw it today. So hopefully we'll be seeing more of you there. And we want to view it as like a community space. So we want to have you come, meet with us, plan with us, because where we feel we can be most effective is in helping you amplify what you're doing here. So hope to continue the dialogue.
Thank you, Rebecca.
And we'd love any help you can give in our environmental panel. So we're going to do two things very quick, and then three things, and we're going to close out the meeting. One, Anderson Ortiz is right here. Let's give him a hand. He comes to a lot of our meetings. Keep it, Derek, you don't speak, or are you good?
Just here representing the comptroller of the city of New York, Scott Stringer, who's the chief financial officer of the city, responsible for the pension system and for the transparency and accountability of city agencies. I'll stay through the entire meeting. If you have any questions about what the comptroller is doing, how our office can be of help, really answer.
And Anderson is at all our meetings, and we really appreciate him being here, and he does to send stuff back. Okay, just hold one second here. And then we are going to do, so anyone who has a post-it, after we have the next speaker speak, just bring up the post-it and put it on here. And we're going to address it later on, after the next speaker. we're going to do that. So our last speaker of the evening is Louisa.
Well, let's not say speaker. Just,
Speaker.
Update.
Update from something that happened at the last meeting. We're trying to do this in a way where if we talk about something at the last meeting, we address it at the following meeting. So we had a meeting, and Louisa's going to talk about it.
Hi everyone. Good seeing you. So Waterfront Alliance, you might recall, I spoke about the Waterfront Alliance doing a tour here on City Island, and we had that tour, and it was really great. We walked around for about 2 hours, and we took them to various waterfront locations on the island, and they saw 3 opportunities to partner. One of resiliency, and that's essentially they want us to join their task force and give input to their policy platform. The second issue is rezoning issues we're facing here on the island, specifically on the waterfront. And Steve Brymus also joined us. You may recall Steve was the one who suggested reaching out to them. So he was concerned about the marinas and the issues they're facing. So that's another area they talked about. And then lastly, about the city's comprehensive waterfront plan. They're currently updating it, and they want to make sure our voices are heard and that we're in the 2030 plan. And that's basically it. We'll keep you posted.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the mic.
Okay. We also have an organization on the island called City Island Oyster Reef, which is trying to work on the waterfront and cleaning the water, and we're trying to build. And I just hope that we're not working on cross purposes.
No.
And so that people know if they want to be part of City Island Oyster Reef Project, you've got to let us know, because we have volunteers going out throughout the week, twice a week, picking up oyster shells from many of the local restaurants. We are putting them out to cure for several months in different sites, and we have volunteers who come and help us do all that. It's a completely volunteer organization. And eventually we're going to be putting these oyster shells in bags down into the water, and they're going to build oyster reefs, and it's a whole ecological restoration project around the entire island. It's got a big vision, a huge vision. And anyone who's interested in whatever City Island Rising is doing in terms of the environment, I think we have to work together. We shouldn't work in cross purposes. We've had people from NOAA out here. Yeah. We've had people from the River Alliance. Yeah. So, what?
No, I know when you had this is a fair question. Again, we all have to work together. That was Barbara's point here. And I know when you had the NOAA meeting, you did let me know. And when we had the waterfront meeting, we did let you guys know. I know that unfortunately schedules conflicted, but now that we've had this meeting, we're going to work with you. And we're going to sit down with you, and we're all going to work together. And the Oyster Project, these guys are doing an amazing job. They're not getting paid. Let's give them a round of applause real quickly, because they are doing a very good job. And no one wants them to feel they're not appreciated, because they are doing this, as I said earlier, for free. Yes?
Yeah, there's a fundraiser. There is a fundraiser on the, I just had it up. 21st. It's going to be a wonderful party. All the food is being donated by different restaurants around the island, and we're raising money. So if you want to come, it's at, just let me know if you're interested in coming on the 21st. Anything else? If I'm missing something, I see some of our fundraisers have left already, but...
That's... Okay. Thank you all very much. Again, any Post-its, bring them up here. I take the Post-its. The post we did on social media about the pipe being on the left side and when it's going to get removed, that came from the last meeting. So all the posts, all the comments that are made on the internet, I take those, and that fills in with the board what the agenda is for the next meeting. So next agenda is going to be climate resiliency centered. Meeting after that, Caitlin, myself, Jane Gelsey, a few other people. It's going to be on the opioid epidemic, because those are the issues you guys brought to the first meeting. So we've moved from the idea stage to the interactive stage, and then it will be further actions thereafter. So thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Have a nice day. Bring the Post-its up, please.
How's it going?
Oh, and thank you to Ben. Ben has been great, and Ben is now a celebrity thanks to AOC. So let's all put some money into the tip cup and thank him for coming in because he didn't have to come in. He's a nice guy and appreciate it. Bring the post-its up, please.
I got the letter, and then all of a sudden my case was over. Yeah, so that's good. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you for calling. Do you have a card? Because I want to ask you a question about interns. High school and college and say okay. How do I find out about it?
Rebecca?
Yes.
I think this might have been yours. Is this yours? Oh, yeah. I'm here. You've got a 9:30. I'm here to walk you out.
Oh, okay.
Do you need a minute or just?
Yeah, a few minutes.
5? Okay, 5. Do you need water or anything? Okay, it's just because we're waiting outside and we're parked.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Rebecca.
Hi.
Hello, I want to give you my card. I'm going to just if she ever needs Burton support, I'm there. I live here on City Island. Although my parish is out in Connecticut.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bendo. It's great meeting you.
Again, reach out if you need anything, okay?
Yeah, we'll do. Thank you.
Is this still recording? Should I stop that?
Oh yeah, we should probably stop.